Hello and welcome back to episode 6. Yes, we made it to 6 of The Ripper, the Teller and The Gremlin. So this week we've got something a bit different. We've actually got a guest.
A guest?
We have our first ever guest.
A guest?
Oh, you can hear him in the background. So I'd just sort of like to take this time to introduce you to him. His name's Matt. He is known to us as The Critic. And do you want to say hello, Matt?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm Matt, or The Critic. So just a quick explanation as to why I'm called The Critic. So to keep it short and sweet, I've been known to be quite an opinionated person, especially when it comes to films. However, don't worry, my long-winded, over-exaggerated rants are not really limited to films. They tend to happen pretty much with everything that somebody's asked for my opinion on something. So, we'll see. But as you'll probably find out, I'm not the happiest of people when it comes to anything.
No, your critical, sort of impressions probably transcend existence. I think you can find anything in the cosmosphere, and Matt will find a negative in it.
Yeah.
And if we find aliens, and he'd be like, "Oh well."
Yeah,
they're short, aren't they?
Always, yeah. They could have been taller, or they could have been scarier.
Disappointing.
Yeah, there'll always be something with Matt. But that's why we thought it'd be great to have him on here as a guest.
Get his opinions. Get his brutal opinions.
Yeah,
Jesus.
exactly that.
Yes. Well, nothing's perfect, so.
Especially not in your books.
No.
But anyway, straight into the news, and I have some really exciting bits. So first bit of news for me is Total War Troy actually released on the Epic Games Store, and it broke the launcher. It broke the Epic Games Store. So within the first hour, it had over 1 million downloads.
Wow.
It's not bad.
Because it basically, for the first 24 hours on Epic, it was free.
Right.
So
did you claim your free copy?
I didn't, Bradley.
You didn't even claim it and didn't want to play it.
Because I told you, Bradley. I'm going to wait for a year when it comes out on Steam. And
but I thought just maybe he'll go and get his free copy, just in case in that year.
I debated it.
He gets a taste for it.
I looked at the launcher and it was down when I went on there. So I actually
you'd
avoided
at least
it.
Consider it.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, I mean, this is a great thing for the Total War franchise, for sort of a new influx of a new player base. I know you guys have never touched the franchise, but
No.
Matt, have you ever ventured into a Total War game?
I've played. I wouldn't know what Total War game it was, but I've definitely played one for a good half an hour. So I wouldn't say I
Big
was
fan.
Yeah,
Got big impressions.
yeah.
Lifelong fan there.
But yeah, no. So they like I say, it's really exciting. I think for Total War as a franchise, this is a huge group of people that may have never touched a Total War in their life, and their and there was a lot of people who thought this would be a huge flop, thought that they'd alienate their fan base and that people wouldn't download this, and that it's too complex a game for sort of Epic, which is seen as more of a sort of casual gamer friendly sort of place. So to the people who thought it was going to be a flop, which I was unsure, you were massively wrong.
I can't believe of all the million people that broke that launcher, you weren't one of them. That's the most baffling part about this news.
I said before, I'm gonna wait a year, wait for all the DLCs to come out, and then I'll probably pick it up on Steam when it comes out. That's my plan. But
fair enough.
I think it's a great thing for the company, and the guys at Creative Assembly do a really, really good job with, like, people thought it was going to flop because it had so many issues, like the pre-release footage, and they released like a 15-minute video of them showing everything they'd fixed.
Right.
Like, the people had pointed this stuff out and they'd fixed it all. So that is like the company you want in gaming. You want someone who's going to listen to their players, right?
Yeah, 100%. Of course you do.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all there is on Total War Troy. I'll play it.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a quick scroll through of Total War earlier, and there is a free Amazon's DLC. So the Amazonians for people that connect their Epic Games and Total War Access accounts. And they will be, even if you do it now, it will be released in September.
Yeah, they do it a lot. They did a load of promotional stuff on Total War Access for Warhammer and Free Kingdoms. And it's basically just, all you really do is you sign up for their newsletter. And then, like I say, they've actually spoke about trying to push stuff through Access, where you could almost link your Steam and your Epic games through that. But that's all sort of up in the air at the minute. But, I think they've done a great job, like Matt said. And there, you've got a free day one DLC.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love,
DLC.
Amazonians beating people up? Well, you seen Wonder Woman?
Well, the people getting beaten up probably don't enjoy it, but other than that. I mean, I'm going to say this, and you're probably going to be really ashamed of me, but we talked about Total War before, obviously, and Chris obviously is an avid fan, and I didn't even know that it had released, and I looked on the Epic Games launcher.
Oh my god!
So you didn't claim your free copy?
I didn't claim a free copy. No.
Should have.
I mean, if I'd have known, I probably should have. But...
I've got my free copy, but I haven't installed it.
Oh really?
So you're like one small step better than me, basically.
Well, if you literally. Bradley, talk about it. Because I'm going to be waiting a year for this.
I was going to say you're going to be sitting there. I could just spoil it all in there.
I might get it too.
Yeah, I mean they're sandbox games, so they're kind of.
I was going to say
They're hard
I was about to say that. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that I'd find something.
Yeah, probably. And
something small that you're not sure if it's in the game, and I'll be like, well, it is.
And we'll keep it out of Matt's hands because I'll punch him in the face.
Well, I've already
I don't want your negativity or my Total War. Thank you.
Well, not that I have any understanding of what Total War is, but I did find out earlier that it's too easy apparently during Total War Troy for the AI. I don't know if this means anything to you, Chris, but apparently it's too easy for AI to find paths or to.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah. It basically it means that they can get to your settlements quicker. They can. It just sounds like apparently
spoilers.
they probably blitz you. They probably come at you. Like
from the reviews, they've said that it's the AI find it easier to do things than you would. It seems to be more of a challenge where the AI would find it immediate, like it would be easy for them.
It's a common thing with Total War. The AI gets cheats that the player doesn't get.
Right.
They get double the income you get on a lot of difficulties. It's there's a discussion that they've had that they need to increase the intelligence of the AI instead of just giving the AI which essentially cheats.
Yeah,
exactly.
But we'll move away from Total War because I'll talk about Total War forever.
I was going to say.
Otherwise, which would not be good. So the second bit I want to talk about is obviously you guys are going to realise that this is heartbreaking for me.
Oh, here we go again.
Halo. Yeah.
We're keeping this to less than 3
podcast.
minutes, Chris.
Yeah. Halo Infinite has been delayed. And like we said before, delays can be a good thing, and in this case I believe it is a good thing, because we said before delays can be bad if you hear stories where they've completely thrown the game away and sort of completely changed it. One that springs to mind is Destiny, where they threw away 2 years of work and completely made a new game. But this isn't that. This is, they've said that they're going to work on the graphics, that the product is complete. They just want extra time to make it look prettier, make it
as long as they don't
smoother.
change Craig the Brute.
I was going to say
that's fine.
they're basically taking this time to make Craig's story.
Yeah. Make him the lieutenant of the Brutes. Go for it. Hey, he'll join Master Chief. We said we want him as a playable character.
He needs to be the co-op character.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, or the multiplayer skin.
But so that's delayed, and like I say, I think it's a good thing for Halo, but it's a terrible thing for Microsoft. This is really bad with the way Sony is looking to knock it out of the park with their next gen and all their teasers.
It's not great for them to have their biggest.
Their big set. One of their big selling points is now just gone. Oh, bye.
You want to be throwing all of your cards on the table
when Sony are about to drop PS5.
So, as much as well done, Microsoft, you're making the right decision for Halo. But for your own next generation of consoles.
So is it not going to be released with the new console then? No.
Yeah, which it was going to be. So.
Yeah, so that's a massive. Even if the game's terrible, it's a seller, isn't it?
To say Halo's being released on launch, you don't want.
So Sony are just laughing with this basically. Yeah, just sheerly enjoying it. Well done, Sony. Well done.
Yeah.
But moving on to my last bit of news, because like I said, I won't talk about Halo forever.
You actually kept that to a really reasonable level. I'm actually really impressed with you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm
about
growing
Halo
as a
for less
person.
than 3 minutes.
But so the last bit I wanted to touch on was a really cool little news story that I sort of saw that said there's 3 billion gamers across the world.
Well done,
3
gamers.
billion. We're not a minority, boys.
I know it's like
all those times your dad's judged you and you were sitting
yeah.
upstairs.
Yeah, there's the thing though, isn't it? Like it's become such a big thing that it used to feel like that, didn't it? Like you were judged for being a gamer, you know, and if you were a gamer, you were probably a nerd. And okay, we are all massive nerds, but that's relevant. That's not what we're talking about today.
But nearly half of the world's population
are gamers.
Which is mental. And do you want to hear some of the statistics about what people are playing on?
I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Yeah.
So bizarrely, which this blew my mind, only 8% of those 3 billion play on consoles.
Oh.
I'm proudly one.
Only
8%.
8%.
I'm proudly 8 of that. One of those 8%.
How mental! I found that.
So what are they using?
So the
Bamboo
biggest,
and,
the biggest
chessboard.
percentage
It's mobile.
is
It's gotta
40.
be.
No, so the biggest is actually PC with
Oh, it is?
48%.
Is it?
Wow.
48%
Yes.
of all PC Master Race boys. Woohoo! 48% of those is PC, and then the rest of that equation, so just under half, I think it worked out to 38% or something, is mobile gamers.
Yeah, mobile will be where that number's jumped up so big.
But they've said that this is, in the next couple of years, the mobile will overtake PC massively. Because we've talked about it before on this pod, it's the accessibility of having a phone.
Like you say, everyone has a phone. Everyone has access to some form of app.
In poorer countries where you can't afford a PC, you can get all these games and apps on your phone.
A lot of which are free as well.
You know what? Mobile games are actually getting better as well. It's not just mobile games have been out for years now. It's quite a normal thing, but things like I don't know if you've played it, but the mobile Call of Duty.
Yeah,
that is actually pretty good. For a first-person shooter on a mobile,
it holds weight.
It actually holds its own. The gameplay is very, very similar to the console gameplay, and that's what was holding back for mobile a lot, where the big games and the big developers weren't really investing into it.
No, and it's still a fine balance, because I think mobile games for me anyway are a fun little side addition, but I think developers have to be careful. This happened with Blizzard a few years ago, where they pushed their next Diablo to be a mobile game, and the backlash was, it's one of the biggest backlashes in gaming memory. Do you guys not have phones? Like, they actually said that on stage. And you can just see all these little, PC Master Race people shaking in the crowd. Like,
I mean, it's impressive, isn't it, the statistics? And like you say, I think Matt pretty much hit the nail on the head there with mobile gaming, is that was the biggest thing holding it back. That, years ago, mobile games and apps you could download weren't just up to the standard in which they can be now. The fact that it wasn't great, but Fortnite even was on the App Store, obviously, and that
it was playable.
Even I had a go at it, and it was playable. And Call of Duty being probably the biggest and best one currently, but and then you compare that to, I remember Doodle Jump. Do you remember Doodle Jump?
Oh yes,
Doodle Jump.
Classic.
Doodle Jump and
Temple Run.
Temple Run still is a great
Temple Run was nuts.
But it will eventually take over. We kind of spoke about that last time, didn't we?
And that's what they've said. So like say 8% on consoles, 48% on PCs, and then whatever the percentage that's left is on their phones. But the analysts reckon that phones in the next 3 years or so will overtake the PCs.
But definitely see that happening.
Yeah, completely. That's it for my news this week.
On to me for the news. The first piece of news I have today is a film trailer. We spoke about it once before on the pod, The Devil All the Time, which stars Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson,
Sebastian Stan.
And do you know what? we've all seen the trailer, have we not? Bradley, have you seen it? Oh, he's
Nope.
gonna let me down, isn't he?
He's gonna let you down. Have you seen the trailer?
No.
Yeah, of course you haven't. Right, okay.
Should we have,
Well,
Matthew, have you
No,
seen the
I've
trailer?
not seen the trailer.
Right, okay. So
Ah.
Chris, you've seen the trailer.
I have,
I've seen the
yeah.
trailer. So amazing, right?
So weird.
It's so strange, and it just looks fantastic.
What an interesting, weird drama from like the 1930s.
Yeah.
40s?
So Tom Holland with a southern accent as well. What do we think? Of that?
Surprisingly good accent.
Good accent. Yeah.
I was a bit worried when he first started. I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
where are you going, Tom?"
Yeah, so basically the trailer, it doesn't give away loads, I don't think, not really.
No.
It basically, they talked about how the film's going to jump time through years. And what it looks like from the trailer is that Bill Skarsgård is his dad when he was young and in the war, wasn't
A
it?
soldier.
Yeah, and a soldier. And then you kind of see the broken man that he became as an old, when he become older and the way he kind of raised them. But there's a lot of it looks a lot to me like a bit of a cult film, doesn't it? Like there's a lot of like disturbing setting to the film, and
There's a heavy sort of southern religious sort of fanaticism to it, because Robert Pattinson looks to be this preacher
and he's a bit
who's almost Messiah-esque, manipulating people, and it
kind of, from what you, like I say, it's obviously made to kind of be a bit of a mystery, but the trailer really like it held such an interest for me, because it's an interesting setting, it's an interesting time, and like you say, he plays this like a messiah, really, like a cult leader, doesn't he? And everyone in the town seems to be like
enraptured with this man.
But Tom Holland's character, by the look of it, knows he's dodgy, right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of feeling I get. And it's kind of about him maybe revolting, I guess, against him in a way.
It looks like I say, it follows all these different actors and this cast. It's a massive cast, and there's a load of great talent in there. And it just looks very wacky, very crazy. And I like that I don't really know what's going on. Yeah,
like even in the trailer, you kind of feel that, don't you? Like it does. Even the trailer jumps time, doesn't it? You see the young father in the war, then you see him older,
you
then you see Tom
get the gun.
You see Tom getting a gun. You see like and it kind of follows, like there's a weird relationship there as well, isn't there? Because there's, in the trailer, I believe he's talking to what was be his adopted sister or something, and they talk about how they were. What he says, something along the lines of, what are the odds of us both being in the same orphanage, blah blah blah. And it's like, that's clearly like a plot point that will obviously later make sense, but in the trailer it has no context at all. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. What does everyone else think, just from what you know?
It sounds cool.
Yeah,
like, from what you said. Interesting cast as well. I like
it. There's a massive cast. Really.
The funniest thing I saw to do with the cast was there was a comment from a Southern American, and he literally put, "How can a cast of British and other nationalities actors do my accent better than the people I live with?"
Yeah. They do. They all do in the trailer. I feel like everyone's accent was really strong, like really well presented and strong, wasn't it? And I mean, we all love Tom Holland anyway, don't we? So it was cool to see him in that sort of role as well. Something a bit different and out of his comfort zone, I would say, as well.
Because at first I definitely was looking at him and I was like,
yeah.
And then he spoke and he had a southern drawl, and I was like, okay, I'm on board.
But yeah, we don't. Does it have a release date yet?
September 2020.
Yes.
September. So we're not talking long at all. But yeah, I mean, we're all going to be watching it, I think.
Bradley will be watching.
Bradley, are you going to be watching it?
I mean, it sounds pretty good. So
you'll just wait to hear what we think about it.
If you watch it, we'll do a group review. We'll make it exciting.
Okay. Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, no. Well, I have to say, I've only seen the list of the cast members, and that just makes me want to see it.
Yeah.
Just to see what they do with all of those, because they're all kind of different style actors as well.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's even got Dudley from Harry Potter in it.
Oh, really?
I
didn't know that one.
I didn't know that either. No. Well, there you go. So we'll all check that one out when it comes out. Bradley probably will just wait for us to talk about it and then make up his own opinion on it. But so the next piece of news, comedy legend Seth Rogen We all love Seth Rogen, don't we? And this is really interesting. So he's going to be working on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot. This is a great concept, but it's very strange, isn't it? I mean, what do we think? I just want to hear what you guys think first.
So do we have any details before we get into it? Is it going to be live action? Is it going to be?
I don't know that. Do you know that?
I think I don't know. It's not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it said a live action reboot.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they are looking to redesign the turtles, because in like the Michael Bay movies, they were
monsters.
Yeah, they just weren't turtles.
No, they were beasts.
Yeah,
I quite like
the characters from Gears of War.
I mean, no wonder I like those designs.
Yeah. No, but like, so all we do know, from what I know anyway, is that I think he quoted saying that he wants to kind of lean into the teenage side of the Turtles a bit more especially than the Michael Bay films do. So like,
they're not teenagers in Michael Bay's movies.
That's what I mean. They're just like, they're badasses.
Yeah, they were like ogres. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They were terrible.
they were giant man children who just smashed through the city
like mini Hulks. But yeah, I mean, we all love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's obviously a very nostalgic thing for us. I really, really hope. I think it's got a lot of potential.
I mean, I don't hate the Michael Bay movies.
I don't hate them. No, I don't at all.
I hate Michael Bay's movies, but I don't hate.
I think they're just okay. They're kind of entertaining.
What do you hate about Michael Bay's movies?
We'll get onto that later.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see this. And Seth Rogen it's an interesting name to pop up and associate with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I definitely want to see it. And I think, Chris, you said to me that the writer of Bad Neighbours is also co-writing.
Yeah. So it hopefully it'll be funny.
Yeah.
It seems very comedy driven.
Exactly. But I hope they don't do it too much, if you know what I mean. Like, don't
where it just becomes Bad Neighbours,
just a comedy,
but they're wearing
turtle suits with Zac Efron in a turtle suit.
Yeah, because there is still a dark side. There is still the gritty superhero.
There was literally fan art saying who should he cast, and it was Zac Efron.
Yeah, I mean, that's just awful.
Who's the other one in Bad Neighbours? Who's Zac Efron's
Dave
best
Franco?
friend? Dave Franco. They had them on there, and they're like fan cast, and I was like, please don't do this.
Don't do this. Yeah. No, that's there's not too much to say about it for now, and obviously we don't really know much about it. Obviously, I'll wait for a trailer, maybe make some more decisions up on that. But yeah, I just hope they don't. That's my one hope for it, is that they don't lean too far into comedy, because, like Matt said, there is definitely a dark element to that storyline, and we don't want to just make it a joke, basically.
Yeah, you don't want to forget that these guys are still superheroes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to lean so far into the teenagers, because let's be honest, it's not the teenage part that makes these characters interesting.
No,
it's the giant mutant turtles
and Ninja Turtles as well.
That kind of makes it interesting.
The teenage was not really the big part.
Yeah,
if they could have missed out any of the words in
teenage was the key one. Yeah. And Matt, have you got anything else you want to say about it? Anything you hope for it?
No, not really. I heard about it, and I am actually quite excited, just purely because when Seth Rogen gets his hands on something, it tends to be quite entertaining.
Sausage Party,
yes.
the most disturbing film to watch for your parents.
I feel traumatized.
But it's a great film. So we'll wait and see. Speaking of traumatizing, Chris, this brings me on to my last piece of news. So you remember we spoke about the legendary Sam Fisher in an episode previously.
Are they going to kill him off?
Well, we talked about all this.
We said they're going to kill him off in Ghost Recon.
Are they going to make? Yeah, no. But we spoke about all the possibilities of what we hope for the potential leak of a new Splinter Cell game, the last chapter. I really, really hope this is not what we've been led to believe. But obviously, you've all seen it. Sam Fisher is now a playable character in Rainbow Six Siege. He's called the Shadow. I think he's like the Shadow
Operative or something.
Operative or Shadow Legend or something like that. It's something like that. Rainbow Six Siege is a great game. Please, please, please tell me that is not Sam Fisher's
conclusive end.
Can you imagine?
So how did he die? So he breached into the door, and then that the little chick killed him.
But this is. I really want to just talk about this for a second. Have you seen how he looks in the game? Have you seen the design?
He's a lot younger, and he's bulky as hell.
Right, but
he's like a Gears of War version of Sam Fisher.
But what do you think of it? Like, because he's got like long hair, hasn't he? Like, it's like long greyish hair, and he's got the beard and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. Like, not that I hope this is not the conclusive chapter and there is still a game coming, but I quite like that design of Sam Fisher.
If that's a tease for his design going forward,
it could be.
I'm quite on board.
Yeah, I really liked it. And I also, while we're talking about him, I did look into Rainbow Six Siege and look at the character and kind of what his abilities are for the, how he impacts the game and stuff like that. He's got what appears to be like one main ability, and it's cool, but I don't know if it's Sam Fisher enough for me. So he has the ability, he has a pistol which can shoot through pretty much any surface and plant a camera, one of the like night vision cameras that he uses, like the snake cam in Splinter Cell. He can use that, but shoot it through any surface and it goes straight through, and you can then use the camera on the other side. Whilst that is cool and it obviously takes away a little bit from Splinter Cell, is that enough for Sam Fisher, do you think? I mean, I know they can't make him OP.
Yeah, they have to balance it, don't they?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
It can't be OP.
So obviously there's like gear and stuff, so you climb around. How cool would it have been if they'd just gone, okay, so this guy's thing is he just moves up anything.
Free climb,
he's just he's just boom, he's up there.
In the game,
so you don't need the equipment. You don't need that like 5 seconds of rappelling because he's just straight out the window.
I mean, it would be cool. But
that would be OP.
But it would. Yeah. That's the thing, is Matt's spot on. You have to balance this sort of thing, and you can't have a new character as legendary as him come into the game and it just break Rainbow Six Siege. They've built up a good reputation. You don't want to break it with a character that iconic, especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're all just praying the same thing, right?
It's not his end.
If it is, it'd be so tragic that it'd be hilarious. Yeah. And I'd almost be so upset that it's funny.
That it's funny, yeah, that it becomes humorous.
But I think this can't be.
It can't be, can it? I'm really hoping not. Matt, I don't think I've ever actually asked you this question. Have you even played the Splinter Cell games? Have you ever been into the franchise at all?
I've got Siege and I've played Siege and I like Siege,
but not Splinter Cell.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say he's completely off track here.
I was getting ready to load my rifle because I was waiting for this critical comment.
Yeah, no,
you don't understand.
Yeah, Splinter Cell is an iconic franchise. But if I was you, Matt, and I was saying to you like, just give it a go, I would just say, obviously the originals are great. Obviously some are quite dated but I would say, if you want to pick one up just to experience what it could have been, I would pick up Conviction. What about you?
Conviction and Blacklist. I think the old ones, if you like old games, I think you'll love them all.
Oh, yeah.
But if you struggle with stuff that feels dated, then pick up Conviction and Blacklist.
Yeah, they're the two most recent ones. But Conviction,
for sure.
It still holds. It is, even now, I played it not long ago, and I played the campaign again. I can't believe how good the game was for when it was released, and I'm still like in awe of it. And Blacklist was obviously just like a gameplay and graphic improvement from
it was like, hey, look, it plays better, it's snappier, but the story is absolutely awful nothing compared to Conviction, which still has great gameplay, but also has this story where you're just like, and you just want to play it through.
Yeah, exactly that. So that would be my only bit of advice to anyone who hasn't ever played Splinter Cell. Just pick up those two games. And also, Matt, I would tell you to just play Conviction. And if you want it, I actually have it, so you can just borrow it if you want. So there you go. Don't have to pay any money for it either. But anyway, that's all the news for me today. Moving on to Bradley's news.
Yes. So obviously I have my 3 pieces. And first I want to talk about something quite quick and simple, but so Netflix are actually making a live action series of the cartoon Avatar: The Last Airbender, and they had the original creators of the series, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian.
Pronounced that amazingly.
I'm not going to do this one justice.
It's me like fumbling over my words every episode.
I'm just going to stop at Brian so that I win. And Brian, they had those, the 2 original creators of the series involved with the live action series. But we've had some bad news, and they have actually now parted with Netflix. Due to things not working out, essentially, they have basically said that they are not upholding their original statement of honouring their vision. And this is pretty devastating for fans, because we've had a live action film from M. Night Shyamalan, and it was horrible.
Yeah,
It was
horrible.
Literally,
It was
the
so
exact same
horrible.
thing.
I don't think I've ever heard one person say, I actually quite liked it. Like, even just for
wait, 'cause Matt would be
cinematic
that
purposes.
I think
he's
the only positive thing I could say about that movie is from a visual standpoint. The
I don't
set
even think it is.
design and certain elements of it I really liked, but apart from that,
No.
everything else in that movie is good.
No, see,
and the children couldn't act their way out of a plastic bag.
but they've all gone on to be quite like decent actors,
Well,
which
maybe they're
I
good
thought was
now, but
quite.
they couldn't when they
Yeah,
were
that's what I
kids.
mean. In that, they were just. I think it was also just the script and the writing was just so bad. It didn't capture at all what the series is about. But yeah, so I'm just kind of surprised that Netflix has kind of gone back on its word and
It's
and
so
not really
stupid.
kept to their creative vision. When I have kind of been led to believe that Netflix is normally quite good with stuff like this, with keeping kind of directive visions alive.
Yeah,
But clearly they've not really done it here, and it's kind of sad to see that Netflix is kind of becoming this kind of corporation.
Yeah,
yeah.
like you say, because we've got the Witcher series, which the author, put past notes to the showrunner and helped with that and gave his blessing and said, there are changes, but everything I support and, I really like what they've done. So most of the stuff, and Gerard Way, who we're actually going to talk about later, who was the original creator of Umbrella Academy. Sure, there's a lot of differences from the comics, but he still helped them, gave them advice, was an executive producer.
Yep.
And so Netflix have a history of actually being really good and supportive and collaborative with the original creators. So this is a big 180.
Yeah, which is why it's quite upsetting, especially when it's something as loved as The Last Airbender.
Yeah. Do you so Bradley, I'm taking it you're a big fan.
Which is quite funny because I'm a recent big fan. We literally a few weeks ago have watched the entire series, and
wow.
Yeah, we did it I have a movie slot, so that's where your movies get put in. And I've done a few of them.
You're gonna have to.
There's so much gaming
from 9 o'clock onwards. We have a movie. Because I have to play games until 9 o'clock, and then you get your movie slot, which is why we have this backlist of a huge amount of films and series and stuff.
Sir, are the most organised gamer I have ever come across.
Just stick it on.
It works. It works so well.
They're like, Bradley, do you want to come downstairs and watch a film? No, it doesn't fit into my schedule.
It doesn't fit. 9 o'clock, I'll be down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's where your films get slotted in. So I've watched a few of the things you recommended. But yeah, that was in there for quite a while. We were just going through the series. And yeah, I'm a massive fan of the original series that Nickelodeon, I believe it was, produced.
Yeah.
And then that's why recently we also watched the M. Night Shyamalan film and realized, like, I'd seen it before, but I'd never seen the series. So I was like, I was like, God, the series must be garbage. And then we were like, okay, let's give it a go. And then it was amazing. And I was like, how could he possibly ruin it this much?
Yeah.
Because we went back and watched the film. We was like, right, now I've seen it and I know what the source material was like. I'm going to watch it. And I watched it and I was like, no, how did he do this? It's so bad. I had quite a high regard for M. Night Shyamalan as well, from the things that he's done.
Yeah, I like a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
It's always quite mysterious and it builds a good atmosphere, but then this is just awful. I'm surprised he still has a career.
What about,
it's just so bad.
What about Jack or Bradley? Have you had any interaction? What do you think of the Avatar sort of
Jack and Bradley, or
Jack and Matt?
Yeah. I'll go first. No, I haven't.
I would recommend it.
No. I mean, and no, Bradley. No, I haven't. But I have seen. I actually think I've played. Is there a game? Because I'm pretty sure I've played it.
There was a video game.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I've played that.
The TV series.
Yeah. But do you know what?
On like PlayStation 2 or
It's
something.
never ever interested me. And to be fair, I actually have seen the film, but I know that doesn't do it justice. But
yeah, I was going to say, please don't.
No, I know. I just the whole concept just doesn't interest me. It's just for me personally. I don't know. It just doesn't I
love it.
How you feel?
I think the thing is, I would feel that way if I hadn't watched it.
Right.
I think the concept isn't very unique. It's it's just people with different elemental abilities.
With arrows.
And it's nothing special, but just the way the storytelling's told, and the way the characters are portrayed, it's so good. That original
they have
series
such good
is so good.
character arcs in that series.
That's probably why the live action film went so wrong.
Yeah,
if that's what made
they tried to fit too much into the film.
It's basically exactly the same as what happened with Dragon Ball. I think that for me is the exact reason why I love Dragon Ball, because it's not special, it's not really unique, but the characters and the arcs and the way it's told is what makes it so good.
Yeah.
And then the hilarious thing about this is Dragon Ball also has a live action movie that is one of the worst things you'll ever watch. They just can't seem to adapt anything that has like strong character arcs. It's like Hollywood's just like, oh no, it's too much.
Yeah.
But that's the problem, is they do try and condense it down, and then you don't get that same feeling as when you've watched
it's just
a certain amount of episodes. Yeah, exactly. So either way, I'm kind of disappointed that Netflix has done something like this. And I mean, the creators did go on to say that it could still be good, but they did end with a sharp line of, but it'll be not be what they envisioned, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
So they said like, oh, you might enjoy it. Like, don't worry. Like, you know, Netflix might still do a good job, but it won't be what we wanted, which is kind of just like a sad little line for the creators of the thing that people did love. So I don't know. It'll be one of those wait and see things. I'm kind of hoping that Netflix does do it justice, obviously, especially because things, I mean, you said you've like seen the film, and then a lot of people would base their opinion off of that
film, and wouldn't,
and it kind of ruins into it. Yeah, it ruins,
tarnishes the legacy, doesn't it?
Yeah, as well, trying to get people into it. I'm not saying you, because obviously, like you said, you're not interested at all. But some people would have been like, "Oh, that sounds quite interesting." Seen how poorly done it was, and they go, "No, that's not for me. That's a horrible
experience."
World, and it's like, no, just give it a chance. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what Netflix kind of does with it. But on to my next piece of news, which is surrounding another streaming service, and that is Disney Plus. So the live action adaptation of Mulan is set to release very soon, and it sounds like a great idea to release it on Disney Plus with the state of how cinemas are around the world during this lockdown. So all sounds good. Put it on Disney Plus. Why not? Unfortunately, Disney isn't quite so giving with its franchises and with
one way to put it badly.
Movies. Yeah, well, I mean, because a lot of streaming services would be, but Disney thinks it's fair to charge subscribers $29.99 US to watch Mulan as a premium price. So you'd be paying $30 for the film, and technically you'd still be renting it. You do get to keep it, but only if you continue to be a Disney Plus subscriber. Oh. So you would need to pay that $7 per month on top of that to be able to keep your $30 film, which I think $30 is a lot, right? As it is. So look compared to like DVDs.
Yeah. So look at it this way: you'd never pay that much for a DVD. Number one.
No.
Number two, you wouldn't pay that much for a cinema ticket either.
No. Well, you know, a cinema ticket, you're talking like, I think if you went to a nice cinema, it's like 16 quid.
16 quid, yeah.
So to me, that I had two minds about it, because like I said, you do get to keep it forever. And a DVD is like 12 quid, right?
But you don't, because you're paying $7 a month to keep it.
Yeah. But as long as you've got your
membership. But what I mean is, if £30 is I think it's like £24. It's $30.
Yeah, it'd probably be about. They'll probably round it to like 25, or they do the typical thing of keep it at 30. Yeah,
and I think, like you say, I think £20 isn't outrageous, but the fact that they want $20 isn't outrageous. Mm-hmm. The fact that they want $30, that blows my mind.
Yeah,
that's
the fact that they want that as well as the subscription is what blows my mind. Because what if I go, I don't really watch any of what's on Disney Plus anymore. I don't really want to subscribe. But I then lose my film that I've paid quite a lot for, and I could have just gone out and got a DVD
for cheap
for probably about half the price. I mean, obviously, like Blu-rays would be closer to what you're getting for the resolution stuff, but it's still not $30 for a Blu-ray. But on the flip side of this, I looked into it, and analysts have claimed that they have worked out that with the amount of people that would pay, like on an estimate, that $30, that would only bring in around $90 million, and the film's budget is apparently $200 million. So Disney would still not be making their
money
making
back
enough to cover their budget. But obviously, then you've got to think of how many people will also be subscribing to Disney Plus
to watch
for
it.
this reason. Yeah, and it also is a question of, is it fair to do this when streaming services like Netflix produce their own like films and TV series and don't charge any premium? So it's one of those things.
Yeah. I mean, I see what they're trying to do, because obviously they want to get some of that cinema revenue going. They want to regenerate stuff. But like you said, the fact that I think, they could have done it for less money.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
At this point, like you say, the estimates, and this is, I believe I read that it said these estimates are, being kind, that it could get 90 million.
It's being generous.
And like you said, 200 production budget, 100 million marketing estimated budget. They're still losing 210 million.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well just accept it. What is this extra 90 million really gonna do for you in the long run? You're still losing money on this thing.
Yeah.
But then again, it is Disney, so if they can do it, why wouldn't they do it?
Yeah.
But Disney never seemed to fail to make money on anything anyway, because you've also got all of the merchandise and stuff that's going to come out because of the film, and that's where they make a lot of their money, because of the game, like the Lego games.
Yeah, I mean, it does come from Disney had, obviously because of Corona virus, Disney had their first year of a loss.
Right.
They lost a lot of money this year. The parks not being open, all this knock-on effect. So you can see this is a desperate move. This is something to put something out there to get some sort of revenue back in.
Yeah.
Whereas I think, they're a business. They're quite a greedy business. Whereas I think they should just cut their losses this year and build support.
Bad year, but I mean, it's not like they've just had a bad year. There's exceptions to why they've had a bad year. So yeah, like you say, maybe they. I mean, we are talking about Disney, but maybe they are just better off just thinking, well, we just need to cut our losses and deal with it, because it's not, let's be real, they're not running out of money anytime soon, are they? They're not struggling. They're not going to shut down.
And like I said, I think they would have had more success if they'd done it with Black Widow instead of Mulan.
Probably. Yeah.
I would have probably maybe done it for Black Widow. shared the cost with my girlfriend and just watched it together.
It's I mean, but you've got to think like Mulan, I guess, to an extent is going to, as much as obviously Black Widow would put in a lot as well, but you got to think it's really down to the parents, isn't it? Because Mulan's going to bring in more kids than adults. I mean, obviously it will bring in adults, but you're going to have like a lot of kids or young people that are probably too young to pay it themselves. So it's really going to, isn't it going to fall to an extent, it's going to fall to the parents, isn't it, as to whether they think that's reasonable, because they might already have a membership to Disney for their child, but are they going to pay another 30 on top? I
think we're going to have a lot of Karens having a lot of angry letters
to Disney
at Disney going, I already pay £7 for this.
I just imagine me asking my mum if I can watch a new film, and for her to find out that it's going to cost her 30 quid
plus the membership
for a month.
Pays,
Wait, how old are you?
Yeah, we forgot to mention Matt is actually just 5. So yeah,
he's the target audience.
Yeah, target audience for this film. No, I mean, yeah, Bradley, you're right. It's definitely a questionable move from Disney.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, moving on to another questionable corporation. So last week we talked about Microsoft taking on Apple, as Apple have said they're not going to be supporting game streaming services.
Unless it's theirs.
Yeah, unless it's theirs, obviously, Apple being Apple. So that affected the Xbox Game Pass. But this week, Epic Games has actually started a fight. And they did this by provoking Apple with an update to Fortnite that intentionally violated the rules surrounding in-app purchases. So the update actually stopped Apple getting 30% of every purchase made on Fortnite. They did update this to the Google Play Store as well. And after this update, like when it was patched, they reduced the prices on the store by 20%, which was great for the players. And then they took the 10% for themselves, which honestly I think is fair, because 20% reduction for the players, 10% for themselves. I know they make a lot anyway, but it's still working out for the players. But obviously, Apple being Apple, the Fortnite was immediately removed from the store as soon as there was the notion of this rule being broken.
And that's mental, because that's like, that app is huge. Like, huge, like we're talking millions of players.
Yeah, so exactly.
So I'm sure
Epic.
You're gone.
Oh, all I was going to say is Epic actually, obviously, intentionally doing this, expected this reaction, and they already had a 62-page lawsuit ready against Apple and Google for the Play Store, which they have now filed and is in due process. So this is a huge step for the mobile gaming platform that Epic so lovingly have taken
the plunge for
upon themselves, putting their huge revenue from their mobile side of Fortnite, and potentially any other mobile games they want to release, because obviously Apple and Google Play aren't going to be willing to work with them again if this doesn't work out.
Yeah, I think I read that it's already affected Epic's other mobile games.
Yeah,
like they've removed
I saw that.
creator tools for them.
Yeah.
So it basically means they can't do any more updates, can't fix bugs, can't do any.
Which is a huge like sacrifice that Epic have. Yeah, and they've been willing to make this for the future of mobile gaming, because they don't believe in Apple and the Play Store having any right over how they run their game, and they shouldn't be taking these 30% cuts. Epic has actually said this, that Apple are scared of healthy competition, which in my opinion is completely true. The fact that they're not supporting any other game streaming services apart from their own. And they've actually, the best part about all of this, in my opinion, is Epic Games has actually released a video parodying.
I was going to say, I hope you.
This was savage.
It was brilliant. It was.
Have you seen this?
So on Fortnite, I'll let Bradley explain it, but basically Fortnite, you know what they're like. Obviously Fortnite are, such a huge game anyway. Yeah. They release a trailer, like when every new season there's a trailer for the new season, and Bradley, you can explain it, but basically it was incredible.
So this trailer, filmed, I'm pretty sure in black and white for the effect, is a parody of the, I believe, George Orwell book.
Yeah.
1984, which I'm pretty sure is a film as well.
1884.
1884, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it 1884?
Yeah. Well, 1984 is a album, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I thought it was 1984 as well.
It is, because isn't it set after the Cold War?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it is 1984.
Well, no, because George Orwell was.
Yeah, but he was writing in the future. He was,
right.
It was
I'm just thinking that he was around in like
he was around in the 30s and 40s, and the book's actually based on.
Yeah, it is. We just had a quick look. It is 1984.
Yeah. Oh, right, brilliant. Anyway, carrying on.
So it's actually parodying 1984, which, if you don't know, is about living in a dystopian society. So everything you do is watched and controlled by Big Brother, and they actually do this video parodying it in response to what Apple have done. And they actually full on call out Apple at the end, saying that they need to stop Apple and fight Apple to stop the control that they have over the mobile gaming industry. And they end with the hashtag free Fortnite.
Yeah, so basically, so what's even better about this, is obviously they take a comical spin on it. So basically what happens in the trailer is all the Fortnite players are sitting in the movie theater in black and white. And on the screen is like this presentation going on, and it's meant to be like a dictating, like, like we're in charge, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But they put an Apple head on the person, and then a Fortnite player runs in and grabs the pickaxe and literally launches it straight through the cinema screen, and it just explodes, and then it comes up with the free Fortnite thing. It's so cool. It's a bold move as well.
They were so prepared though.
Yeah.
They knew what was going to happen. There's no disputing that they that this was, because there were some people going, "Oh,
Intentional.
they didn't know." Come on, they had an ad
trailer.
and a trailer ready
they're
to
for
go.
a fight. They've basically.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is I saw that Epic, despite being a multi-billion-dollar company, is a small fish compared to Google.
Oh yeah, that's
being a trillion dollar company. And I found it hilarious when they were saying, Epic is taking the legal stance of being the small fish, which it is, but it's still $1 billion company, and that just blew my mind. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're this small innocent. You're still $1 billion company. Like, I get in comparison to Google.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's just what is going on over at Apple, like Microsoft, Epic,
and do you not think though, it's in a way it's pretty good, like it's pretty amazing really to see these big corporations not taking it though, like not just letting Apple just
have the monopoly.
Yeah, they're like making that stance and making a point. But
though I do also appreciate it is Apple's platform. It is Apple's service, and I think they abuse it, and they should not take as much a chunk as they do, but they should get something. It is their platform.
Yeah. They've created this ecosystem, so they should.
The amount they charge.
But yeah, it's not really. I wouldn't say it's really the cut. I mean, that's a big part of it. Obviously, is the 30% cut, but I think a huge part of it is just the strict terms of service they run. That you step out of line even a tiny bit and you're instantly banned, you're instantly off the store. I think a big part of it is just that. It's just having freedom on the store and on the platform, because it feels like they're so trapped in what they can do compared to something like PC where they can literally just update with anything they want because it's theirs. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping gets taken, for its money. Gets a run for its money, gets maybe some sort of loss out of this, but the amount that
unlikely they'll probably earn money off it.
Yeah, somehow.
So let's take a vote. Who is on Epic's side?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, I'm in Epic's boat.
I'd say I would be, but I just feel like they've done it. I think they've done it for a good reason. I just think it's a bit too little too late. I think Apple, like you're trying to, it's a bit like trying to stop Google from becoming a really successible search engine. You're not going to be able to do it now. You might have been able to do it back in 1984.
Bing's going to do it.
Bing's on its way up.
I hope we're all using Bing, boy.
Yeah, I use Bing at work.
A fun fact actually, the most searched word on Bing
is Google.
It's porn, but then the second one is Google, which I think is just brilliant.
Well done, internet. Well done.
Yeah. But yeah, Bradley, is there anything else you want to say about that one, or?
No. So that is all for my news and all for our news of the week. And so this is the part of the episode where we'd normally have our reviews, but this week we thought, seeing as we have a guest on, we'd just let Matt do a review, I believe, of a series. So do you want to tell us about what you've got, Matt?
Yep. Well, this is just a quick review for the Umbrella Academy series, both of them for Netflix. So the Umbrella Academy, you probably have already heard of it, but it's a TV adaptation of a comic originally released in 2007, 2008. And it was written by Gerald Way that Chris mentioned earlier. Now, like probably all of you, maybe not Chris, but I hadn't heard of the Umbrella Academy before it was a Netflix thing. So I'm not going to act like I have any idea.
You were this mega super fan.
Yeah, what these comic books were about. But I can, after watching both of the seasons, I can definitely tell why they've done it, because it's just, well, it's just different. I don't. Well, you've watched it before, haven't you, Chris?
I absolutely love this show. For me, this is tied with The Boys for my favourite superhero show.
Yes,
Right.
that's what I was actually going to compare it to.
That's how high of a standard I give this series.
And actually, I think that The Boys and The Umbrella Academy are the perfect examples of both ends of the superhero spectrum when it comes to I guess putting it on camera.
Yeah.
Purely because The Boys is quite. I suppose they both have their comedic effects, but The Boys is more
brutal.
It's more brutal. It's more real life. It's more like they suffer everyday problems the same way we do in everyday life. It has some sort of connection to the real world. It actually makes you think that that's what superheroes would be like in the real world. But then with the Umbrella Academy, it completely flips that on its head, and it's like it's not the real world, and you understand throughout the whole thing that it's not really the real world. There's things like even just the basic concept of it is that there was 43 women. They all became pregnant all at the same time, and on the same day of becoming pregnant, they all gave birth. They all gave birth to 43 children, and 7 of them were adopted by a billionaire. That billionaire then teaches they've all got abilities naturally, but the billionaire, I suppose,
becomes a mentor, doesn't he?
Yeah, he becomes their
surrogate father.
Exactly. Yeah. However,
he's a lot more messed up than Professor X.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's what I quite like, because he's got the kind of Nick Fury, Professor X kind of a vibe to him, but at the same time, they've not made him as big of a part of it as you would originally think just by watching the trailers. He's more of a he's a good in a sense, because it actually makes you realize he is just a billionaire, right? He's a guy that's made all of his money, not billionaires. Not if there is any billionaires listening, I do apologize, but there are a lot of billionaires that kind of tend to make their money through it doesn't matter what necessarily people's feelings are not their main priority when it comes to making money. And that's the same way with this guy. It actually makes you think that he might just be a powerful, horrible billionaire, because like these kids are all numbered. They haven't got names. They have got names, but these are names given to them by their mum, which I'll get on to in a minute. But they're all given numbers. They're all number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, which I thought was quite clever in a sense, because it does make you realize that he could not care less about them. They are quite literally to him a project. They are a business project. And and he comes up with this whole Umbrella Academy thing, and the actual show begins after the Umbrella Academy has already broken up, hasn't it? It's not actually about the kids,
the glory days,
because they were all part of the Umbrella Academy when they were younger, and when they were growing up and learning their powers. This is set in a time where they've all kind of broken off into their own paths, and they all come back because of one. Am I allowed
for his funeral?
Yeah, for his funeral. Yeah, and I suppose that's not really.
It's in the trailer, so
I knew
anything that's sort of light spoilers or anything that's in the trailer. That's fair game.
Yeah. Well, so their billionaire dad dies. They all have to come together for the funeral, but he's died in unusual circumstances, and they believe that there is something bigger at play.
Some sort of conspiracy, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And so yeah, that's pretty much the overview of what's going on. I won't go into too much detail because of the trying to avoid spoilers, and you just need to give it a go, really. But,
and if you went into if this was in depth, you could be here for
hours. Exactly. Yeah, that's why I was trying to keep away from going into too much detail about it, just purely because there is so much to talk about. But I was just thinking earlier on about how would I explain the Umbrella Academy to somebody who's never watched it before? But like Jack, you've never seen it.
I've literally seen the trailer for the first season, and that's it.
Yeah,
like
so
the Netflix thing that you scroll over and it does the little trailer for you.
Yeah, so if I was to explain the Umbrella Academy in the so there's 7 kids that all get adopted. They've all got superpowers, right? They are brought up by a
eccentric billionaire.
But they're raised. They are adopted by the eccentric billionaire. However, they are raised by a robot. and trained by a chimp.
A very intelligent.
A very
talking
intelligent.
He's in the trailer, the chimp.
They're trained by a chimp, and well, I've actually got a list here of what the kids do and what their names are. So number one. Now these are not normal superpowers. Okay. They've always got. This is the Umbrella
Quirky.
Academy twist.
So they're a bit quirky. Yeah.
So number one, that's Luther, and he's got super strength. However, he's not just got super strength. He's massive and is like half silverback.
Yes, half gorilla.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's
but that's not so much his power. There's something that happens in the course of the series.
Yeah, which causes him to
become that.
To happen.
Okay.
Yeah. But he always had super strength. The second one is or number two is Diego, and he's got perfect aim.
Okay.
Now,
I love it. I love that ability.
So basically, when they say perfect aim, they mean any projectile that is in the air.
Yeah.
If he can basically pinpoint his eyes onto this projectile, then he can control it.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't matter. He doesn't necessarily have to throw it himself.
Yeah.
But he has to acknowledge the movement in the air in order for then he can basically, if you threw a spoon at him, he could turn around and stop the spoon. Oh, well, no, not stop it, but he can carry it on and move it to somewhere else. Yeah. He also, which I found out was quite cool, his name is the Kraken in the comics. Now, I thought that was a bit weird because they've all got kind of superhero names that match their superpower, but the Kraken is a bit strange. But I did find out that Diego's other ability is to breathe underwater.
Oh, okay.
So he can. That's cool. He can breathe underwater for as long as you want, but they don't really point that out in the comic in the show
series,
because they let you find everything out. The Umbrella Academy will never explain anything to you. You've just got to work
madness.
it out.
It is what it is. Yeah.
But that's also why it's so appealing, because it's just this insanity that's put on the screen. But it's not, oh wow, look how crazy it is. It's just plopped in front of you, and it's just this is how it is. And that makes it almost feel normal. Even though it's crazy.
And they will do things as something will happen in the show where somebody that's never been in the show previous has all of a sudden teleported into an alleyway, and they've not really explained anything. They won't explain that for 4 or 5 episodes. That won't it won't mean anything. And the more you question it, the more you're going to hate yourself. So if you do, when you're watching it, if you do start to question things, just accept them, and eventually it will start to make sense. Now, number 3 is Alison. She's got mind control. She whispers into people's ears, I heard a rumor. And then once she says that, that's like her trigger word, I guess. And she can basically get you to do whatever you want. Whatever she wants, sorry.
Literally anything.
Literally anything.
She can control your bodily functions as well, which is crazy.
And actually, one thing that in season 2, at the beginning of season 2, they showed her using her ability, and she does something that I didn't realize she could do, where she says to them, "I heard a rumor that I blew your minds," and then all of their heads explode. Right now, I didn't realize she could do that, but apparently she can do that as well. Number 4 is Klaus. Now, Klaus can speak to dead people, but he can not only speak to dead people, he can summon dead people, and he can not actually the dead body, but the ghost of that person. And he can also then bring them into the physical world. So they still appear as kind of like this greyish, greeny ghost, but they are physical, so they can
interact,
affect the real world,
basically. Number 5 is probably the most complicated one. Number 5 is just called Number 5. He doesn't actually have a name. The reason for that is because Number 5 can travel in space and time. During the TV series, it's gonna sound really weird, but Number 5 is still a kid, so they're all the same age as each other. However, number 5 accidentally gets trapped in time.
So he's still a child.
He then spent 40 odd years in time. So he's actually an adult when he comes back.
Yeah, he's like 84 in a child's body.
In a child's body.
Yeah. So he's an elderly man in the future. So then travels back to the past. But because when he travels in time, he has no control over it. So he'll get mixed matches he'll end up in time in say 30 years into the future, but as a baby.
Right.
Yeah. So his time can never stay with anybody else's time.
Right.
So that's why he's younger than everybody, but actually is older than everybody, but actually is the exact same age as everybody.
It's a bit of a conundrum.
So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds one.
Yeah. Number 6 is Ben. He's actually dead. But he's in the whole thing throughout because Klaus can speak to dead people.
Right. So he follows him around.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And but Ben, when he was alive, could spawn tentacle monsters out of his belly.
He's like a weird hentai nightmare situation. Yeah. That's the first thing I thought when I saw his ability.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen any tentacle porn, but there we go. And number 7 is Vanya. Now, number 7 is probably the best character I would say out of all of them. Maybe number 5 just because of the way that it's portrayed, but number 7 is played by Ellen Page. What else is she in? The Last of Us.
Oh, okay.
She's done loads of stuff. You know, she was in the X-Men. She was Kitty Pryde in the X-Men movies. Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's won awards. She's a very, very talented actress.
You know, she completely makes this. I think I wouldn't say her character is as strong in the first season as it is in the second season. But I think that's because the first season is mainly about her. So it's all about the reveal. But in the second season, they definitely had a lot more freedom when creating the character and creating the scenes, I think, but that's where she goes into her element. And I think that she definitely makes that superhero because, number 7 or Vanya is quite a fragile character. So
she's very emotional.
Yeah, she's a very emotional character and she's very emotionally unstable, but has a good heart. Yeah. So, I think she plays it really well.
Yeah. I really like the whole cast.
She does. What did we say she does as an ability?
So she's basically
I didn't say her ability, did I?
I was going to say. I was like, hang on a second.
Right. Okay. So
she's very stressed out.
Yes, I've just put sound arrow.
She just cries a lot.
I don't really want to explain it, but
she just.
I mean, she does cry a lot, but
yeah. I've just put sound arrow force because that's basically her power in a nutshell. She can turn sound into pure force or energy.
That's cool.
So if I shouted at you, nothing. But if number 7 is in the room and I shouted at you, she could turn before it hit you. She could turn the sound into pure energy, and your head would explode.
Yeah, that's pretty. She's the strongest.
She's by far the strongest because she's got no limit to her power.
Yeah.
Apparently, and they keep, and this is the whole thing of the Umbrella Academy will never answer any of your questions. Apparently, all of them have added abilities that we don't know about. Diego being able to breathe underwater, that's a good example of that, where they would they never mention that in that's only ever mentioned in the comics. That's why I know about it. But that sort of thing, they don't show you a lot. So apparently all of the kids have added abilities, which they will kind of find out throughout the show. In terms of the look of the show, it's brilliant. I think that the colors, because it's, again, with the boys is not a very colourful show, is it?
It's gritty. And
exactly. And they're trying to still keep it real world. So they're wearing real world clothes, things like that. Whereas I think the visuals in the Umbrella Academy are
wacky.
Yeah, and they're very much about they go back to the comic book style of colours. So the season 2 is set in the 60s. So the 60s is already a very colourful era anyway. And they kind of jump onto that. Klaus is very out there, and he's got many issues, but
they all have got many issues.
Yeah, they've all got many
That's
issues.
sort of one of the big things, isn't it? The sort of fact that they're all, I'd say the boys is more coping with the power, whereas these guys, it's not so much about coping with their power, it's more coping with what they've actually been put through because they've got abilities.
Yeah, and being able to cope in the real world with their powers, and the responsibility always comes back to them because they've all got this responsibility as a team to, I suppose, keep the Earth safe and to stop the apocalypse. But none of them ever signed up to it. None of them ever wanted to.
They were just born.
Yeah, and the whole thing of the like, I know in the Avengers films, for example, like in the first Avengers film, they argue and they break up, and then 10 minutes later they're all best friends and all in New York for some reason.
Yeah.
They
write each other letters.
Yeah. that sort of thing.
Sorry,
Captain America's still trying to find the address.
Yeah. In his phone, Tony in his phone has got one number on it, just Captain Rogers. It's like the oldest phone in the world. Like literally, he's a billionaire and he's got a phone that literally looks like the first ever mobile. I have a couple of questions, obviously, just from point of view of someone who hasn't seen it. So, is Klaus the guy who's in Misfits?
Yes. And he's amazing.
So he's a good actor.
Such a good actor.
Yes.
But
who is he in Misfits?
He's the weirdo in Misfits, isn't he, as well? He's a weird
which
character.
one?
The one with curly hair.
I haven't watched
what his name
Misfits
is.
for so long.
Is it in the first series?
Yeah, he's one of the original. One of the original.
But
wasn't he like Irish in it?
Yeah, he's Irish.
No, yeah, he is Irish.
He's an Irish actor.
So I kind of get.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So just from the description and from like the limited trailer I have seen in that, kind of get this like band of misfits feel, like the way they are. Do they hide their identities? Is it like public to the whole world?
Yeah, pretty much. It's never really. It's not like Batman where it's like, I must keep.
He puts on a deep voice and that's it.
It's more just. Because they are public personas already,
right? Because of
the
extreme
to understand is they were superheroes a long time ago. They're not superheroes anymore, and they haven't been since they were children.
Right,
and so they're all in like their mid to late 20s, aren't they? Yeah. And they I don't know. I don't really know how to.
So they're just kind of coexisting amongst the world.
Pretty much.
But they've their time's been and gone almost.
And they've all some of them have either integrated into society, some of them have carried on with their mission. And the show really has them all go off like Matt says, and then they all come together at the funeral and try and pick up the pieces.
Right.
And it's just a roller coaster ride disaster from that point on.
And they actually the first season is good for kind of explaining how they are to the real world because, for example, because they've met up for the first time in years, they haven't seen each other in years. You get to see all of their issues because they question each other on them. So, for example, Klaus is a drug addict. And he's an alcoholic. He's unemployed. He basically struggles with everyday life purely because he can hear dead people. But not only can he hear dead people, he can't control how he hears the dead people. So they're shouting at everybody's trying to get his attention because he even says, imagine being the only person in the world that can communicate.
Yeah.
So everybody is only talking to you so that you can be there.
They're
passing
voice.
it on.
But
because there's a massive queue of people trying to do that because there's a lot of dead people.
All he can hear is
he's driving himself insane. So he ends up becoming a bit of a drug addict and a bit of a low life, and a bit of he's a bit of a recluse to the world. But then you've got Alison, who she's the one that can control people's minds. She's a famous film star. I believe she's also written a book. So you'd think that being able to basically get anybody to do anything, you would be the most successful person in the world.
So it kind of shows how, in a way, a slight sort of The Boys kind of feel like with the real life thing. And obviously it's taken it in a different spin, but like that, it sounds like they've tried to show you that if these people really had these powers, that they all would have gone off separately and they all would have ended up in completely different circumstances. You know, it's not like The Boys where if you've got powers, you're a star, basically.
Yeah, that's a fair way to.
But you could end up a complete wreck, or you could end up doing well for yourself and being able to fit in. You know.
Yeah, but actually, the thing with Alison is that none of their powers have allowed them to really involve themselves with everyday life. So for example, she's become uber successful and everything like that, but she's still having major issues where her daughter is no longer allowed to see her because of her ability, the court won't allow her because she could potentially fool anybody into doing anything.
They discovered that she was using her power to basically, her child was crying, so she'd be like, stop crying.
Cry. So they're saying she could theoretically do anything.
So it's almost like there are some people who have been more successful, but even the ones who've been successful, there's still issues because they're not normal.
Because they're not normal people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've obviously tried to join in where I could about just what I can take from it. Bradley, what do you think? You've not seen anything I take on it. I mean,
does it sound appealing to you? Or?
I've actually been listening like really intently. It sounds really good.
I think you'd love it.
Which is why I was really interested when you were talking about who was playing one of the characters, because I've been building like
images up in your
ideas,
head.
of what they all look like and what they're all like, especially from the kind of descriptions of personality.
Well, the chimp looks like a chimp.
Awesome. Really but actually doesn't he? He wears a waistcoat and has a cane.
Well done.
And a monocle as well.
I ruined that as well.
You ruined everything.
But no,
it sounds awesome.
I mean, coming from, so basically, this is from two people who have seen, two people who haven't. I mean, I'll give you my opinion. Like I now feel more entitled. Like I feel like I now want to watch it more. Before, when it came out the first season, I had it in my watch list for absolutely ages. And I just always found something else to watch. Yeah. Like I was always like, I just can't bring myself to watch this because it just looks so bizarre. And I was like, I like bizarre, but I was like, am I just going to waste my time with this? So, and I knew there was a lot of hype around it, but I was just like, it's just, is it going to be a bit of me? So I ended up taking it out. My watch list is not even in there anymore. So like now I'm kind of thinking maybe
disappointed in you, Jack.
Yeah, maybe I should now give this a go.
Well, when I was writing the notes for this, I kept finding myself advertising it too. Like when I'm writing it down, I kept finding myself talking about the good parts.
Yeah.
And I only will do that if it's good. And I actually quite enjoyed it. And I'm now looking forward to season 3. When I was halfway through season 1, I wasn't going to watch season 2. And now I've watched season 2.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Because I was quite hooked from the get-go.
Oh, no, see, I was hooked in the sense that I felt obliged to watch it because I felt like I couldn't let there be a superhero, like
that you've not seen.
Team up superhero TV series that's highly rated on Netflix and not watch it. So I did watch it, and the first few episodes I did struggle to get into it, but I think that goes with every TV series. You need to, like with Peaky Blinders was one of the best TV series I've ever watched, and it took me the first season to really appreciate it. Yeah.
I would agree with that actually, because I love Peaky Blinders. I literally was like obsessed with it, and I can't wait for more to come back. But I felt the same. The first season, I watched the first 2 episodes, and I remember like the first bit of violence in it, and that with the razors and the hats and that, and I just thought it's just a bit cringy actually, and I really was like a bit bored of it, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to get into this. And then literally give it a couple more episodes, and I was just hooked, and I just watched every single one of them all the way up to the most recent, and I love it, and it is brilliant. So this is probably in somewhat the same. It's one of them ones you've got to kind of convince yourself to watch, but once you do, I think
the moment I realized that I was hooked on the Umbrella Academy was actually in season 1, in season 2 episode 1, just purely because in season 2 episode 1 they do the recap. And throughout the episode, they keep jumping back to what happened in the first season and keep like joining it out. But then when I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, oh yeah. But then it started to make me think, this is really well put together, because the 2 seasons are actually really just one season with 2 story arcs. Yeah. So they still have one massive story arc, which is not even a fraction of the way through yet. And then each season is its own little story arc. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, that it sounds wicked. I think I probably will give it a watch at some point, and I think Chris, have you seen both seasons? I've got one more episode of season 2,
right? Because I was like, I said to my girlfriend, I was like, we'll finish it because Matt's doing it. I want to have the whole thing in my brain. And she was like, yeah, we'll watch it. Whole weekend. You want it now? No, I've got to do this. Do you want it now? No, I've got to do this. Sunday night, we got into bed and we were like, oh yes, all right, let's put it on. She was like, I'm tired. I was like, I hate you. I'm really. It's like, if you're listening,
was that a good impression? I can't tell if that was a good impression.
It was awesome. It was a blind
uncanny
impression.
Yeah.
She's actually sitting there. That was her.
yeah, that's brilliant. No, but yeah, I mean, I probably will give it a watch at some point, and I'm sure Bradley will add it to the long list.
It will be on the list.
Yeah,
the
of
list.
these 9:00 slots.
Can we see this list one day?
Yeah, one
I
day
want to
we'll probably need
screenshot
to.
this and put it on our Instagram.
The problem is the
Twitter.
list is like multi-devices and everything. Like I've got half, Alexa has half. So.
Well, you're gonna have to compile it, Bradley.
You're going to compile it, and we're actually going to post it at some point on one of our social medias, and just so we can show everyone what we're
the list
talking
of
about.
shame.
The list of shame, yeah.
The list.
I mean, unless anyone else has got anything else to say about the program, we've got another really interesting segment.
Oh yeah, this is the titular.
Another good word. I like
that. Title piece. And do you want to tell us what it is, Matthew?
Yeah. So this is called Marvel versus Universe,
Dun, dun.
and it's basically a discussion about the MCU and how long has it got left? Where is it going to be something that's going to be carrying on for years and years and years and years and years, or is it something that's kind of on its last legs now and we're slowly going to be drifting out? We'll get a few of the bad films out of the way, like the Hawkeye solo film, if they're ever going to do that.
They're doing a Hawkeye series.
Oh, are they?
On Disney Plus, yeah.
Right.
Just as bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually quite excited.
Why do you hate
If it's
on
got
Hawkeye?
Ronin flashbacks, I'm in for that.
If it's got that, yeah, okay. I mean, okay, so yeah, I mean, this is obviously a huge topic, and we'll try to not go on for forever.
Well, I've actually got I've made 2 cons and 2 pros for this, so we can discuss each of them. Well, without us having to sit here for the next week discussing it and arguing and
I kind of wanted to be it for the next week.
Discussing it, yeah.
That's it, like the whole life's going to carry on. Mum's cooking dinner, everything. We're just still here.
Yeah.
And you've still never watched that last episode.
That's the most tragic part.
Yeah. Bradley's not. No, can you imagine telling Bradley he wasn't going to have any time to game for the next week? Be the worst news
He'd
ever.
hunt us down.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So yeah, let's do that then. Matt, you just jump straight into it. Give us the first pro or con you choose.
Well, we'll start with a con.
Of course, it's start.
Yeah, of course he would.
Jump in with the negativity.
This is going to start. This is going to sound like a pro, but it will change. The film brings in billions and billions of dollars, but does this mean that standards have dropped or are going to drop because they no longer have to try very hard? The reason why I ask this is because we can all accept that if Marvel made a 3-hour film of stick people and put Avengers on the title card, they're going to make money. And they're going to make
Jack's the problem.
Yeah, probably still watch it. Yeah, just to see.
So yeah, I know that they've been pretty good so far. They've had a few bad ones, but
just quickly, what out of the movies we've had, what are the ones people don't like? Just really quick.
For the Dark World.
Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, I wasn't keen on either
The Winter Soldier.
I wasn't keen on either of the Thor films. Oh, the Winter Soldier.
Did you just say Winter Soldier?
Yeah, no, I like that film a lot. What are you talking about, Matt?
When I was saying it,
yeah, you wait for Chris. Chris was literally.
I'm shell shocked.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, we'll go through.
What
one
about
by
Bradley? Have you got any
go on.
that you dislike from the Marvel movies that you've seen?
Not really. I mean,
Bradley,
It's Marvel. He's a
Bradley.
problem.
Guardians of the
no,
Galaxy.
I'm someone who's like, if I do watch something, if I finally get around to something, I'm quite an easy watch kind of person. It has to be really bad for me to go.
So like The Last Airbender.
So generally,
yeah, literally.
we've agreed there's been a couple of, I wouldn't say.
Okay, what about you? You didn't answer. What do you think?
I generally think the worst one is Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
because it's just boring.
I haven't even seen it.
It's just boring and she's untouchable.
Yeah, I'd accept that.
And it's not that I like the character and I was really excited for the movie, but she's just Superman without kryptonite and it's boring.
It's no threat.
But you know, there's a few funny lines, but that's all. But the rest, you know, I think at worst they're okay.
Yeah.
They're not unbearable.
Like I mentioned, For the Dark World, that's probably the worst reviewed one out of all of them. That's kind of like everybody knows that was a bad one, but even that, like you say,
you'd still watch it.
It's actually not a bad film. If it had come out and it wasn't a Marvel 4 film and it was just
a film,
like it was just called The Dark World or something, and it was just a Chris Hemsworth film, I think it would actually still be pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess the question is, will the standards drop? Because they don't really have to.
They've got their audience.
Exactly,
They've got their money.
And I know that Sony have done that before with Spider-Man, and was it Fox that did it with
the X-Men franchise?
The X-Men, yeah, and it just became a bit.
Yeah, when you say they threw Origins, they had a good thing going, and then they threw Origins together, and they knew it was a mess, and they put it out anyway.
Yeah, and like Apocalypse, I thought was pretty bad as well.
Yeah, that was awful.
Days of Future Past was interesting, but it was still a bit boring. So do you want to move on to a pro and then we'll kind of compare them, or do you want to discuss the con first?
We'll just go straight in for the con. We'll just do them one by one.
Yeah, we'll do them one by one. So the con. I mean, I can see what you're saying. I personally, they haven't really, as of yet, dropped the standards. They've been pretty good for it. Obviously, there is the odd hit and miss film slightly, but there's always a risk of that, in my opinion, because, like you say,
too comfortable.
They know they're going to make the money, and they know even if it doesn't do as well as some of the others, it's still going to bring in a fortune. So,
but then it's like what Matt's actually saying in this is the knock-on effect of if they keep having mediocre to bad movies, this audience will still be massive, but it will dwindle.
Yeah,
it will slowly start to. So a good example of this is back in I suppose like my dad's era was the Wild West films, and the Wild West films were everything. So all of the kids wanted to go and see the Wild West films. All of the adults wanted to go and see the Wild West films. Wild West themed toys were the main thing, and it was all about basically Clint Eastwood and the Wild West franchise. But that slowly started to die out. The quality of the film started to get worse. There was other people trying to jump in and
make these low budgets.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we're even getting in now with the superhero stuff, because there's not necessarily bad, but like Brightburn, for example, I quite enjoyed that actually.
I did enjoy Brightburn.
But Brightburn again is still a spin-off of it. The Umbrella Academy. Even the comics were only released in 2008, but I think it's happened before. Will it happen again to these? I suppose they've always got the beauty of, and actually that.
If that leads on to a
problem, so that will lead on to the next problem.
We're dealing with these one at a time. Bradley, have you got any thoughts on it?
I mean, yeah, like you said, I think if it did start to drop, they'd see their audience, like you said, dwindling.
And they'd have to ramp it back up.
Yeah. So I think even if it did start to, I don't think it would ever be a permanent thing if this is a long-term universe, which I assume is their plan, because they can't afford to constantly keep bringing out mediocre movies. Unless their mediocre movies make enough to cover their mediocrity.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm half joking.
Wow. But I suppose with a Marvel film, we would call it like a mediocre movie. But even a mediocre movie is going to cost them. It's going to cost them 500 million to make the film at least.
Exactly. So it's probably not going to they're going to end up with bigger costs. So eventually they'll either ramp it back up or get rid of the whole universe,
or quit it. Yes.
Ditch it. Yeah.
Well, Kevin Feige has. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Kevin Feige, the big man.
Yeah. So he's he has said that their plan at the moment, Marvel's plan for the cinematic universe, is up to 2028.
Jesus.
So that's 8 more years.
And that's more planned out than my life.
I was going to say.
Well, when I say, is it going to last for years and years? That. The 8 years is kind of where what I mean by years and years, because I know it's already been out for more than that, and I know that it doesn't seem like it's getting any smaller, it's actually just getting bigger. But what you've got to think about is that they've already had the climax of the Endgame and Infinity War, and
has that burst the bubble?
A bit meh. But they've already done that. They've already had the massive every superhero on their roster has turned up all at once. They've had the dramatic music and the big fight scene 2 films in a row.
Have they reached the capacity?
Yeah, have people switched off? They had that pinnacle, they had that big explosion, and now are people going to be like, not particularly?
Well, that's not going to attract people like it did before, is it? Because we all know that when the next Avengers film comes out, there's going to be team up fight scene at the end. Now, before, like especially with Endgame, I knew that was definitely that was the main part of Endgame, was this whole, well, we've seen the list of the actors in this film, so they're going to have a humongous fight scene at the end.
Yeah.
That was the excitement of it. That was like, I don't really care about the Endgame story. I'm still going to go and watch it. And I've watched Endgame 3 times, if you count the 2 times I just watched the final fight scene.
Yeah.
I think I've watched it like 20 times.
I've watched Endgame 3 times, but one of those times was just that fight scene.
Exactly,
end,
yeah.
So,
but
the other
but that's not what's going to be the wow, I have to go and see this film anymore, because they've already done that. So, and yeah, I'm not saying get rid of it because they've already done it, but I'm saying they need to find something else now to. Yeah.
It's not going to be as climactic and as like such an incredible moment, like what that feeling was the first time you saw it.
It depends, because I think the Russo brothers have said before they'd come back for Secret Wars, where they bring in all the new characters, all the old characters, and you have this colossal event that dwarfs Endgame in size and scope. How on earth you'd ever film that, I don't know. But it's I think it's possible to top it. I think it would be an endeavour.
Yeah.
But I do see what you mean. Is it overplayed? I think there is a way you can bring back interest, because you go, hey, everyone's back, even Robert Downey Jr. But then there'd be people as well who felt robbed, who were like, hang on.
You took that away from us.
He's meant to die. He's meant to.
You took
that's the impact
from
that last bit.
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, it's like making Titanic. Titanic makes $1 billion at the box office, so they made another one.
I'd go see that.
I'm not saying they did.
Him coming back as a frozen man. Like a horror
Titanic
movie with Jack coming back.
Jack comes back. That's what
He's
it's called.
back for
Titanic 2.
revenge.
Jack comes
You
back.
couldn't get off. You could have moved over.
Yeah. Haunts her for the rest of her life because she couldn't move.
Kills
over.
her family.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, we went off track there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's probably con 1. I think we talked about that one. Kind of got our theories out on it.
So what's your pro?
Okay, so the pro. This kind of leads on from the con. They have decades worth of comic book stories that they can still use. For example, you just mentioned the Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Now the Endgame is its own comic book.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah. You got Civil War.
Done.
But those they've already done them, but they're not running out, are they?
No, like you say, you've got from the 60s to really the early 2000s, because I'd say that the latest stuff has been sort of not well received, but that's still 50 years of material.
Yeah, exactly. And they've had creative writers working for them, making all of these stories, that when the person was making it, they didn't have to worry about the 500 million bill that is going to be back on the back of it. When they were writing the comic,
it's your imagination.
Yeah, it was just they could literally put anything. When they put pen to paper, they can write down whatever they want. So there was no limit back then. That's why these films are so huge now, I think, because things like Endgame, if somebody had just gone to a film studio and said, right, we're going to make this film, but we need a list of 13 A-list stars to all be standing in one place at one time. It's going to cost us about $1 billion to make the film. No studio's ever going to put that past them, but because Marvel have that backing them, and that's why DC have been given so many chances. I don't think they should anymore, but that's why they were able to get away with Batman versus Superman and things like that, because I didn't like that film. I don't know whether you did, but
a bit of a flop.
I like it. It was a flop from how much they wanted from it.
Yeah.
It did make its budget back, but I think
it made its budget back because it was Batman versus Superman.
But it should have made it. If you want to say this should have made $1 billion. It made like 680 million.
Yeah.
And then you take off its 350 million budget and production and marketing. Then it made like 200 million.
Yeah. So I suppose what I'm getting at is that the studio that made that maybe wouldn't have jumped at the idea of making it if it didn't have Batman and Superman in it.
Yeah,
if it was just
that's fair.
super strong person versus man who likes to dress up as a bat, it doesn't really sell the same.
No.
And the story doesn't sell.
I mean, I'd watch it.
The actual film itself wouldn't sell because I've seen it, and well, the only good thing about it was called Batman versus Superman.
I think the extended cut's good. It's much better.
The warehouse.
I would stand on that hill.
The warehouse scene is the only.
Is the best Batman thing ever put to the screen.
Where Batman fights those. It's like the Arkham games where Batman goes in there. Where he
rescues Superman's mum.
Box and that.
It is the best film.
That's like the only bit of
fight sequence.
Yeah.
Ever for Batman.
Yeah, so that wouldn't have had the opportunity to have been made
without the Marvel movies.
Yeah, without having the kind of superhero stuff behind it, and it's the same with this. So they are going to have the option. And it's like Kevin Feige. There's not a lot of producers that can turn around and say we're going to be making films for the next 8 years. Bear in mind they've already been making films for the last 12.
Yeah.
So for him to quite comfortably sit back and say, yeah, no, we're good for 8 years at least. That shows that they've got some sort of confidence. Yeah, they've got some sort of confidence in it.
And they're not running out of material.
Because they are slightly different. I know you people might say that the con and the pro are very similar from two different angles, but the con was about the actual film writing, the actual effort that goes into the making of the film.
Yeah.
This is more talking about the stories.
Yeah. And the wealth of good material.
Yeah.
That still exists and is there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. So the next con that I've got, some argue, and this is the Michael Bay thing.
The Michael Bay effect.
So some argue that the MCU is not real cinema, and that the stories are cheap, regurgitated, cliche bullshit, basically.
Oh, he's used our one.
He used the word.
You took it from me.
You took everything from me. I'll use it again.
But I see what you're saying.
Are you about to tell me that you don't believe Michael Bay is real cinema?
Have you ever seen Independence? Not Independence Day, Armageddon.
Yeah, of course I have.
Yeah. Don't you think it would be easier to train astronauts to be oil drillers than oil drillers to be astronauts?
Yeah, I think the thing with Michael Bay's movies is the same way I feel about Fast and Furious. If you shut your brain off, and you just enjoy the spectacle,
yes, you become a 7-year-old boy for the 2 hours.
And the one thing I will say is the Secret Soldiers of Benghazi.
Brilliant.
Is Michael Bay, and it's a fantastic war film.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And it's the one Michael Bay movie that I think is amazing.
See, I haven't seen that.
Is that 13 hours?
13 hours, Secret Soldiers of Benghazi.
That is brilliant for me.
It's based on a true story about a US embassy being attacked by ISIS.
Yeah.
And these ex-special forces who are working as contractors go in and to rescue this guy. Yeah. And there's like 13 of them against just a city of insurgents.
Yeah, it's
so good.
It's an incredible film.
Well, this is why I've put Michael Bay in brackets, because there's a lot of it that is just explosions and
that's his thing, isn't it? Look at the Transformers movies.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just
no substance. It's just Optimus, I'm gonna kill you, and then he throws a sword. Right. And he doesn't even say he's gonna kill people that much in the original source material.
There's actually a clip in Dark Side of the Moon where if you slow it down, you can watch a tree in the background explode for no reason. That was just such a Michael Bay
thing to do. You can tell. You can see it, can't you? Him being like, you see that tree right back there? That one needs to blow up.
Do you know what it reminds me of? That scene from Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, with the tree line.
Mother Nature just pissed your pants.
Yeah, just blows up the trees. Right, away from Michael Bay, though, I get where we're comparing him. But going back to the Avengers films and the MCU as a whole, I saw the whole "it's not real cinema" thing when it was around the time Endgame released, wasn't it? That someone had made that big statement that it's not real cinema. I disagree. I get it. I'm not going to say I don't get it, because I do, but I disagree because I don't really think there's. How can you say it's not real?
It does seem like a bit of a case of juvenoia, where they're just. It's just a bit like films nowadays, are not as good as films back in my day.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. It's not. the experience of going to the whole idea of going to watch films, even from back in the 20s when they first started doing it, that it was all about going there and being wowed, wasn't it? It's all about being like, it got the chill, having chills.
You come out of it with the feels about it one way or another, regardless of what the point of the film might be. But yeah, I think that's a bit weird. You can't really say it's not real cinema, because at the end of the day, we just literally sat and, I mean, we're still speaking about this as a whole thing, but we went back to Endgame and you talked about that end scene and thingy and all that, like, and you talk about the actors that are in it and the actresses that are in it and the acting in it. You can't say that's not real cinema, surely.
No, but I understand the sentiment.
Yeah,
but to me, it is. But I don't view it as. I view superhero movies as a whole, as their own
as a
subset
whole different
of
subset.
cinema.
Yeah,
I think it is cinema, but
in its
it's
own
not.
regard.
It's not drama. It's
you
not.
Can't compare it to anything
its
else.
Own thing.
And also, it's either for you or it's not, because if you ask my dad if it was real cinema, he'd probably say no, because it's not his thing.
But then I'm sure if you ask the masses to go watch a black and white
Western,
foreign French film
or a West
that is cinema, they'd all tell you to get on your bike and no one would go see it. Like that is cinema as well. But
it's just a difference.
Just because something's popular doesn't make it not art.
No, I feel like it seems like it's a new era of cinema, not necessarily
what everyone else.
I think because it's changed it doesn't mean it's
ruined it.
It's like electric cars, for example, like against normal cars. When whoever came up with the electric car originally, it seems like, well, it's not a real car, it doesn't have an engine in it, but actually it may not necessarily be a real car, right? Because it's not, it's got a motor, not an engine, but it's still like it's not worse, is it? It's not. It's just not worse because it's different.
Different doesn't mean worse. Doesn't mean better. Different is just different. No. Like I can literally picture it, like the oldies, like you should have seen the cars back in my day. That's not a real car. It's just like a horse and cart, or like with like pedals on like chariot.
Farthing.
Yeah. Not a real car. But yeah, no, I agree. Bradley, you're very quiet. I know you're probably really intently paying attention to us, but feel free to obviously make any. What do you think about that one?
Well, I just think it comes down to semantics of like what is cinema, like that.
What
type of
is
thing.
art?
Yeah,
is the one.
Yeah, like I think it is. It's just coming down to that. I don't see under what I deem as cinema anything that is cinematic and produced and ends up airing in a cinema. How that cannot be real cinema.
Yeah.
And I just think it's kind of in a way when people make that kind of statement, they're just trying to be offensive to the people that watch that type of film. But I think it ends up just being offensive to the people that make that kind of film.
Oh yeah.
When you consider how much work, not just the actors, because obviously they could be like, oh, their acting's poor, and you're like, well, yeah, but there's so much more to it than just the actors. You're not thinking of the bigger picture. Yeah. So, I mean, I can't see how you'd say that's not real cinema. Unless you want to give me a hard definition of what cinema is. Yeah, it is. It is just a different type. And just because it's something they find cringy or they don't like, it's just unfair, in my opinion, to say that kind of thing.
To throw that label.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the last topic of our Marvel segment?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to move on.
So you've got one more...
Pro.
Was it? Is it a pro this time?
Yes. Yeah. So I've got one more pro. An entire generation has been brought up on the films, so they will always have a place in many people's hearts. This is the same for hardcore comic fans that have finally been able to see their favourite stories come to life.
Yeah, I think
beautiful.
That's brilliant. It's a brilliant point.
Thanks.
These movies have imprinted an idea to a lot of people. This is their cinema. This is their heroes. This is their childhood.
Yeah.
People are going to look back and be nostalgic for the entirety of the MCU.
Yeah. And also about certain, like you say about growing up on these films and stuff. For example, for me, no matter what happens in years to come, no matter how old I get, and if they're still producing these films or rebooting these films or whatever, Robert Downey Jr. will always be my Iron Man. You know, Hugh Jackman will always be my Wolverine. You know,
do you
It's
think
like David Tennant will always be my Doctor Who.
But do you think that's almost a double-edged sword, in that if they ever do try to do a new Tony Stark, then people might be like, no,
that's not what I know. But
that's not my nostalgia. That's
but
not
I suppose
what I know.
they've already passed that hurdle previously, haven't they? With things like the Joker,
I suppose Spider-Man.
Spider-Man was what I was going to say. You know, I think, like, for example, when we think to your childhood and that, I think Tobey Maguire, because that's my Spider-Man. But if someone asked me if I preferred him or Tom Holland, I'm going to tell you Tom Holland.
Yeah.
No, that's a tough one.
I think there's aspects within that debate where I like all three of the Spider-Man actors for different reasons.
Yeah, so do I. I've got nothing.
But I'd say definitely the best all round is Tom Holland. I think that.
But you've got, like you say, look, that's a whole nother debate, and that's something we're not going to get into. But like you say, the point is like you say, these films are imprinted from a young age, and they are your what you've grown up to know. So they'll always.
From that, it'll be interesting to see, like you say, how much of an impact that has on the success going forward. But I mean, what do you guys, as a last thought on this, generally think MCU successful future, or it's going to downward slope? What do you reckon?
I think that they need to have a set cut-off point. I think if they turned around tomorrow and said, we're going to be making films up to the end of 2022, for example, or these are the list of all the films we're going to be making.
Once they're out.
That's it. That's the end of it. And where they could have done it with Endgame, they could have said Endgame is the Endgame. That's absolutely the last film we're going to be making. Fair enough. I think that's how they should do it. I think that they will try
to milk it
because it's a cash cow. Yeah. I think they will try and milk it for as much as they can, and
it'll be a downward slope.
It'll end up getting bad press, and they will be the later films. Not that they'll never be able to ruin the early films. But the later films will just be known as these just trash, basically.
Okay, Jack.
I'm going to go similar. I kind of see that exact same thing. I would look at it from a personal point of view. For me, I love these films and always have, but since Endgame, I have no hype for any of the announcements that are coming next. And I'm like, if I already don't have that interest now, how am I going to film 4 years' time when they're still making them, or 3 years' time, or whatever? And I'm sure there'll be films in there. I'll still see them, and I'm sure there'll be films in there that I will absolutely love. But Endgame kind of for me was the climactic.
That was the last queue up outside the cinema with excitement kind of film.
And the hype around when everyone saw it, it was just like such an atmospherical thing. And I don't feel that hype anymore. I love these characters still, but I don't feel the hype for any more films. So
I completely agree with both of you. Weirdly enough, I've read the entire Here's What We're Doing Marvel list, and the only one I actually still feel that excitement for is Black Widow.
Oh, really?
I'm genuinely really excited for Black Widow, just because it's before Endgame,
it's set before,
and it's after Civil War, so it fits.
So still within
that beautiful timeline that ties a knot in her story that is almost affected because of her death in Endgame.
Yeah, sure.
That I want this beautiful send-off for this actress I really like, and this character.
In a way, it's cinematic, isn't it, as well? Like you say, because of her death in
and this
Endgame's been out long enough now.
and I think that film, for me, in my own headcanon, secures her place as an Avenger. Because there's always been the argument, she's just not an Avenger, an agile gun shooter. But I think that would sort of tie her place for me.
But do you feel the same about
completely.
After that?
I think they're going to have to be very careful, because I think it's a very easy case that people will just not be bothered.
Because
I'm a mega comic book fan, and even I'm burnt out.
Yeah,
we talked about it with John Wick. I'm just.
Hey, you don't disrespect Keanu Reeves like that ever in front of me, all right? But he might, as you said, might not be a great actor.
I love
legend.
Keanu. He's great, and he's fantastic as John Wick. We've been over that.
Yeah.
But Bradley, what about you? Quickly, what about you? What do you reckon?
Well, it will be quick. I just think that I'm always the kind of person to just say, let them do what they want to do. If if like there's going to be someone around the world that is super hyped for something that they've announced that no one else is hyped for, and if that one person can benefit from it, it's their money, you know. Like it's Marvel's money. So I don't, it did, like we said, it doesn't tarnish what they've done. You can cut off at Endgame and say that's your MCU that you love. You don't have to take part and watch all the extras. It doesn't have to be for everybody, but I don't see a problem with them carrying on if that's what they want to do, because someone will benefit. Someone will really
find
enjoy
enjoyment from this, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm never against like I would never say, oh, they should just stop, because there will be someone out there that loves it, and it doesn't, just because I've loved these and I might not like the next ones, doesn't mean I should say to them stop because I don't want the extra stuff, you know.
You're always so peppy and positive, Bradley.
It's because, like, I don't know. It is a case of that.
Makes me sick.
The nicest person.
I don't know. That's just how I think of it. It's someone will enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a beautiful outlet.
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
So, should we move on to our last section of the day,
which is another
is a quiz. We love a quiz. So, this is also another hostile takeover, because our guest, the critic, has decided to pose to all three of us a Marvel quiz.
Yay!
Shows how flexible I am with comic
and how diverse you are. Yeah, you're such a diverse person here.
So,
so let's go straight.
Do you want to give us the first question?
Again, it'll be about the Umbrella Academy
or the DC universe.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So these are all MCU based. MCU specifically based. Yes. MCU based, and I've got four. They're all multiple choice, and you've got four options for each question. Okay, and there's five.
We got.
Well, I didn't. I did four options for three of the for the first three questions. Therefore, I'll just carry on with that. Okay. Question one. Is everyone ready?
Wait, did anyone give him the memo that the first two are supposed to be really easy or not? I bet they
did.
No,
but I do listen to the podcast.
So,
he's a fan.
He's a fan.
Right. Okay. So, that's probably actually.
I get it wrong.
This is probably going to be quite a difficult one first. So I actually know. I think Chris will get this.
Oh, Chris, brilliant.
What film is considered the first in the MCU as we know it today? So I'm not talking the old Spider-Man films. I'm not talking about. I know they're obviously not.
Are you talking chronologically?
No. I'm talking. What was the first film?
Like real world release.
Yeah, a real world release. That was considered to be the first of the
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No, not necessarily the first of the
MCU, but the first Marvel movie.
Owned outright by like Disney. This it might be before the Disney era, but what was the first that was Marvel's way of saying we're going to start reading these films now?
Okay.
Go on, give us the options.
Okay, so A, Iron Man, first one. B, Captain America, the First Avenger.
Yeah.
C, The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Or D, Thor.
Right, so it's not Captain America: First Avenger was after Iron Man and also after Hulk. What was the last? What was Thor?
Thor
was early.
So it's the first one they made out of those four movies, yeah? That's the gist of it.
The one that was first release. Oh, I can't remember what number.
You can't remember?
Let's know which letters were which, but I would say The Incredible Hulk was
that's what
the earliest one.
I've never seen it.
I don't know if that's. Have you not? Is that the one with
Eric Banner? No, Ed Norton.
Ed Norton.
Yeah. Eric Banner's the original.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Iron Man. I'm pretty sure Iron Man was first.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Hulk.
I'm going to go with the Hulk as well.
Two Hulks and
Iron Man. It's the Hulk. Now I know why you've gone for Iron Man, because it was the first one to. Yeah. It was the first one considered part of the Avengers movie franchise.
Okay.
But the Incredible Hulk. Technically,
2007.
Never seen. Yeah, so it came out the year before Iron Man.
It came out the year before Iron Man.
It came out the year before Iron Man, but the reason why
because Iron Man's in the end credits scene.
Exactly, yeah. So Iron Man's in the end credits scene, but that was actually when they had only first started to discuss with Robert Downey Jr. about the Iron Man films.
Oh my god, I had no idea.
So so he was, I believe there was actually an argument after they had filmed that end credit sequence whether they were actually going to ever use Robert Downey Jr. as the Iron Man, but they thought that's why they'll put it in as the end credits rather than as part of the film, because if they decided to change it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So the Incredible Hulk is technically the first of the MCU as we would know it today.
I'm going 1 for 1.
Okay, so question 2. Which of these characters had such a good film adaptation? I will explain the question.
Okay, yeah.
Had such a good film adaptation in terms of physical appearance that Marvel officially decided to change the way the character looks in the comics.
Wow.
Okay.
Right? A, Hawkeye.
Yeah.
B, Loki. C, Nick Fury. Or D, Star-Lord.
Wow, I've got no idea about that.
Okay.
I've never seen what they look like before.
Oh, well, could not the argument be made that doesn't this apply to a couple of those characters? No?
I know. I knew he was going to do this. This is what I said about explaining the question. So, yes, it has happened, and that's why there are two in this list have acted. This has happened to. However,
the first.
The reason why I've done it like this is because one of these, when they changed it for the comic, they didn't change it because of the film adaptation. They just changed it for the comics, which kind of looks a bit more like the comic, the film adaptation, but it was nothing to do with the film adaptation.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas this one was specifically done because of the film adaptation.
Oh God, what are we going for?
So what were the options again? Nick Fury.
So Hawkeye, Loki, Nick Fury, or Star-Lord.
I'm gonna go Star-Lord.
Okay,
Bradley.
I'm gonna go with Nick Fury.
I am going to go with, do I pick a side or do I just go completely different? I'm going to go...
Pick a side.
Pick a side, any side. You said Star-Lord, he said Nick Fury. Who was the other? Loki and?
Hawkeye.
Screw Hawkeye. I'm going to go with Star-Lord as well.
Okay, so it was Nick Fury.
No!
Now what's great about this, right, is that Nick Fury, as you can probably imagine, with an American comic book, it was very much about the eye patch, grey hair. He was a white guy.
Yeah, I mean, David Hasselhoff played him.
Yeah, so he was specifically a white guy. However, when Samuel Jackson was given the role, after they had, I believe it was like 2 or 3 films in with Nick Fury in them, with Samuel Jackson being it, where they actually realized that it was just a better look for the character.
Yeah.
It gave it more style and more attitude rather than this whole because Nick Fury in the comics originally was a military man. He was very much about, I think he was an ex-soldier, was he?
Yeah, so I think he had some links to the super soldier programs and stuff like that.
And so he was very much about this typical like American propaganda guy. Kind of like the perfect colonel kind of look with the grey stripes down the side of the hair and things like that. So they changed Nick Fury. Okay, so question 3. In Avengers Infinity War, Thor gets a new god weapon. What was this called? A, Stormbreaker. B, the Nutcracker. C, the mega scary killer axe of death. Or D, Mjolnir.
Oh, I wish it was the Nutcracker.
I wish it was the Nutcracker.
That'd be
amazing.
I'm coming for you, Thanos.
Yeah, it was. I'm at Stormbreaker.
Yeah, Stormbreaker.
Yeah, agreement.
That should have been done before the Nick Fury one. Yeah, that should have been
Yeah.
Although now
I got one right.
Go on.
Now, it was only this morning that I found out we were supposed to do 5 questions. So these are the 2 that I made today.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Okay, so the MCU is the highest grossing movie franchise of all time. But what is the second?
I looked this up. Oh my God.
Is it
A? Franchise?
Yeah, go on.
Highest grossing second franchise?
Yeah. I was actually talking about this not long ago.
Is it A, Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
B, Star Wars?
Mm-hmm.
C, Harry Potter?
Mm-hmm.
Or D, The Fast and the Furious?
Star Wars.
It's got to be Star Wars.
It's got to be
Hands down, got to be Star Wars.
There's so many of them.
Yeah,
it's
so
Star Wars.
It's Star Wars, and then it's Harry Potter straight after,
Yes.
isn't it? And then Lord of the Rings or something. Lord of the Rings is in that.
Lord of the Rings just doesn't have enough films.
Lord of the Rings is pretty. Is pretty good.
Does that throw the Hobbit movies in there?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
But still, it still does well. But yeah, I'm so glad because I had this debate, and I'll tell you why. Because I was having a debate with someone who I will not be named. That basically they were telling me Harry Potter was better than Star Wars, and I was just
Bradley.
No, not Bradley. No.
For a minute, Bradley, you was getting the talking of your life.
No, we were having a chat, and they were telling me that Harry Potter.
I thought he was trying to protect you.
But I think they even hit me with the whole Dumbledore Gandalf as well with Lord of the Rings.
We've already discussed this.
And they were saying
Up on the head, sword through the heart.
Yeah, they were saying stuff about like lightsabers aren't cool and stuff. And I was just like, it's just But so I had to look it up to prove a point. But anyway, go on.
Okay, so question 5, last question. I should have definitely done these in a better order.
It's fine, just go for it.
Okay, in Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket requests 3 things in order to escape from prison. What were they?
Okay.
Are they A, a security guard, a fork, and an ankle monitor? B, a security band, a battery, and a prosthetic leg? C, binoculars, a detonator, and a prosthetic leg?
Yeah.
D, knife, cable wires, and Peter's mixtape.
Can we have them one more time?
Yeah. So A, security guard, a fork, and an ankle monitor. B, a security band, a battery, and a prosthetic leg. C, binoculars, a detonator, and a prosthetic leg. And D, a knife, cable wires, and Peter's mixtape.
I am going to go with B.
Bradley?
I'm going to go with A.
Can I go with B?
Yep, it was B.
Boom.
And do you know
it's
what?
a prosthetic leg that.
I had to think about it.
The answers,
do you know what? The reason do you know why I went with B? Solely because the determination on Chris's face. No, I went with B. Really, the reason I went with B, right, was because I was going in that blind. I'll tell you why, and you're probably both going to hate me or all going to hate me, but I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy one time, and it was literally ages and ages ago, and I've never even seen the second one. I was like, I'm going in blind at that question.
They're two of my favourite MCU.
I don't like Guardians.
I'm not a massive fan.
I'm not a big fan of it. I liked the first one because I'd never really heard of it, but the second one.
Really unpopular opinion. I prefer the second one.
No.
There we go. We found the ones I don't. We found the Marvel movies I don't like.
That you don't like. There you go.
Only
Bradley's
the whole
forgot they
podcast.
existed.
Bradley's like a Canadian, isn't he? He's just never negative about anything. He's just rude.
Even then, he wasn't even nasty about him. He was like, I just don't really like him that much.
Just not for me.
Just not really my cup of tea.
Right. So
now we've got to do closing thoughts, right? And I'm really hoping that Matt has a closing thought because obviously,
do you want to share?
You've got to have some random closing thought. Anything random. Think like even hit us with like a random fact, like
it can be related to today. It can be related to nothing.
Yeah, we always like to do these.
I did actually think of one yesterday, and now I've forgotten it.
No, it has to be in the moment.
Yeah,
it's just
it has to be in the moment.
Yeah, it can't be.
It has to be in the moment.
Yeah.
If you haven't got one, we'll move on to see if anyone else has one.
Yeah, see if anybody else has
Chris?
one.
All right, so I reckon if you're one of those weirdos who thinks that, whatever his face can beat up Dumbledore. Oh God! If you think Dumbledore can beat up Gandalf, okay, I got him right. I got him right around this time. All I'm saying is we're going to give him a lightsaber, and then he's going to chop your little Dumbledore into bits. So deal with that.
What?
I don't know
that's
why
my closing thought.
He crossed three different
because you said,
Matt, that's an example of what a closing thought could be.
Weren't any good, right? So I'm giving him a lightsaber. I mean, he's going to beat him up without the lightsaber, but now he's got that as well.
I can imagine somebody following you down a hospital corridor saying that to you in your ear, and you just try to walk faster, but you can't really be rude to them.
But, I mean, this is why they put me on the podcast.
Yeah, I think that it was enough of a closing thought, to be honest. And we've all had our little say on it. But yeah, I'm with Chris, 100%. Give him a lightsaber any day.
What, give Gandalf a lightsaber and
or don't.
Dumbledore?
Yeah, or don't. And he beat Dumbledore.
I mean, you do it
Dumbledore would do him hands down.
No, you're just winding us.
Are you what, throwing hands or like wands and?
No, we're saying everything to their advantage. But Dumbledore's being all nice and kind to him, being like, "Oh, come be a teacher at my school." He's just back straight on the head, sword through the heart. done. Quick,
even if he
Gandalf's
wasn't.
a savage, mate. He's not messing around.
Mate.
He's not going,
No,
come
no,
work
he's
at
not
my
just-
wizarding school.
Well, you think
No, but even if Dumbledore fought him,
Yes, he cheap shots the steward of Gondor. He's not worrying
oh
about
yeah, that is
anyone
beautiful.
else.
Hang on. Can I just say, he's the only guy in a franchise to die and come back cleaner than when he died.
Yeah, and you're telling you're telling me that Dumbledore's more powerful than Balrog. Gandalf owns that guy, and he's a dark demon of dark magic.
They're actually the same thing. Like
Yeah, they're
Mayars.
Mayars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, we can't get into that.
Anyway,
we're gonna leave it at that. That's for another podcast.
So I'm gonna sign off now.
Yeah.
I will see you later, guys.
Yeah, see you later, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
See you later.